Hey friends, the TWAB this week at Bungie dropped, and it has substantial changes to the ability sandbox. First things first, you can read the TWAB in full. I recommend it. Check the description below for the link. I'm only going to skim through most of this, with the exception of one paragraph that is titled Long-Term Ability Plans. The TWAB always has the habit of only giving us a snippet of what is coming instead of the long-term big picture. And so we can only critique what we 100% know is coming, what is in front of us. Otherwise, we can't make a prediction. We don't know 100% what is realistic for Bungie to implement. They might have these grandiose plans, but they might not be able to make them happen 100%. They might have to compromise at the last minute and send out busted Stasis, for example. We don't know this, so we can only critique what's in front of us. I'm saying this to temper some very mean comments, because people are going to say, but their long-term ability plans say this. It's like, yes, that's their goal, but is it set in stone? Is it too late to change it if it's not a good long-term goal? And that sort of thing. So that's what I want to critique today. Last season, Sandbox lead Kevin Yanes laid out our vision for how we see subclass abilities fitting into the Destiny 2 sandbox moving forward. Our philosophy for ability design is that abilities should complement the core combat of Destiny, but not dominate it. It should enhance the game's gunplay, but not replace it. The changes we're introducing in Season 15 will help set the stage for those larger, systematic ability changes. In the coming seasons, we'll be focusing on how often abilities can be used in the Crucible specifically. Please stay tuned for more info about that. Now, I emphasize some words in this paragraph because they are extremely important. From what we're about to skim through in this TWAB, you're going to see that across the board, most abilities got a potency increase, which makes sense that they're talking about uptime increases. They're making it have a longer cooldown on your ability. So if you can only use handheld supernova every 40 seconds, in the future it might be a minute and 15. We don't know how extreme it's going to be. However, I'm not really a fan of increasing ability potency. I do think even slight potency increases do replace the gunplay. So I'm curious to see what their long-term plan is, but I've already said it. I'm going to critique what's in front of me and just cross my fingers and hope that Bungie does the right thing moving forward. So let's go through some of these. The Stasis freeze changes, amazing. These are very positive. Frozen players break out while airborne. So typically what happens is you're trying to dodge a Revenant Storm Super, whatever it is. He throws the tornado and the ice pick. You're trying to dodge that ice pick. You jump out of the way behind cover so that even if you get frozen, you have enough time to break out. But then you're stuck for a full 7 seconds because it considered you in air before you landed. And then you just get shatter dove, and then the tornado stays over your res, so not even your teammates can help you because they decided to solo super you. Which brings me to the main gripe about this entire TWAB. The super cooldown is about 4 minutes, can be faster, someone's slaying out, geomags, etc. It's the longest cooldown in the game, yet I deal with it the most out of any player. If these abilities get more potent but take longer to charge, I'm still getting hit with these abilities more often than not. I would almost rather more constant abilities that are less lethal, barely lethal at all, like utility-wise, but not potent. Not bailing somebody out of a gunplay because they get scared of me. I don't like that. Let's move on. Shorten breakout animation and camera transition. Great. Differentiate long freeze and short freeze visual treatment. So this helps for both the Stasis user and the target. A lot of you clicked on the video just to hear my thoughts on this one right here. They are nerfing slide. While sliding, players now incur the following penalties: minus 20 stability, plus 15% shotgun pellet spread, and 1.5 times flinch. My controller users, you are going to feel this 20 stability. Now, this one doesn't look like it's going to impact the Crucible much, but I just don't like the idea of it. I feel like this benefits the player sitting in the back of the map doing nothing and hurts the player trying to put some chip damage in and make a play. But then on the flip side, this also seems like it's trying to hurt a player whose only plan is rush forward with the shotgun. I would almost just like to see the shotgun and sniper and all the special weapons across the board incur penalties and not just the slide. We'll see though. Maybe this will be a blessing in disguise when objective game modes are added in the future. We already have ability game modes. It's called a normal game. So yeah, with the right map and the right mode, I'm going to comment on that Jogaroth tweet as well, maybe at the end of the video here. But I also want to make a separate video on that. So overall, I don't like this proposed slide change, but I also don't think it's that bad. Though I feel for my controller users big time, maybe they should just separate -40 stability for M and K. I don't know. Again, we're just going to have to wait and see with whether or not the objective game modes are added with a reason to move. When there's not a reason to move, in order to initiate, you are now under like a double penalty, so I'm not a fan of this at all. Titan Barricade. This one I am a fan of. Nobody uses the Rally Barricade. And so now when you use the Rally Barricade, you get 30 stability, 10% range, and -50% flinch. That is amazing. I still don't know if it's good enough to be used. With the threat of sniper rifles, the big barricade is the best thing in the game. Until special weapons are dealt with, I don't think anyone's going to use Rally Barricade, unfortunately. They also made it so that the barricade protrudes into the ground, so it protects the Titan's feet. That's excellent. And then they also added more damage to the barricade if like a high velocity player flies through it. And kind of like Counter-Strike smokes, the barricade in Destiny has always been a you don't come here through here or you're going to lose all your health. And if you Icarus dash through it, shoulder charge through it, etc., you only take about half your health, so it's not even that big of a deal, and you run through it. I think this is a good change. You also see a lot of Titans not speccing into the barricade, so I think this might be the push that they needed. Behemoth. An unnecessary buff, I would say. It was already one of the best, if not the best, Titan subclass, with rime, easy S tier. Let's read on though. Cryoclasm. The base slide now shatters crystals and frozen enemies. That's an excellent change. Now you can actually use it. Increase the duration. You can kind of do the Hunter shatter dive thing where you throw a grenade down wall sliding into it without breaking your long slide. That's a really good change. A lot of Titans already use Dune Marchers anyway, so this is a huge buff to Behemoth. They increased the melee movement speed by 25%. I think that might be the right mix between hittable and not hittable under the network. We'll see. Whisper Rime fixed a bug where the overshield provided by Whisper Rime was not scaling precision damage correctly. While I think this is a necessary change, I have to wonder if Rime overshield is even good for the game. But also I have to think, if Rime isn't tanking a sniper headshot, do I even care to run it anymore? I kind of don't. I think I might find more value out of other things. Simply being able to counter snipers was enough to make me say, well, I guess I'm only playing Rime now. We'll see. Middle Tree Sunbreaker, Throwing Hammer, more time before it explodes, and then increased damage in PvE. The goal they have for the melee supers is to make the melee supers a little bit better since they're at a disadvantage with the range supers. And I guess with like Vorpal Weapon DMTs and sniper rifles and stuff, the range super is at a huge disadvantage, but maybe range supers are the problem, not melee supers not dealing with range supers, if that makes sense. Maybe Fist of Havoc being a roaming super is a significant problem. Maybe dawnblade flying around is a problem, and a rework of the supers might make more sense. But then again, maybe the power fantasy in PvE makes this a necessary evil. That's probably the case. So anyway, Fist of Havoc, increased slam detonation radius by 14%, reduced slam damage fall off, reduced slam attack activation cost by 3%. Middle Tree Striker got a pretty significant buff because they increased the duration of inertia override from 4 to 6 seconds. That's massive. If you remember back in the day, they also delayed the activation by a second, so this is going to feel amazing. It was already a top subclass for me, but this might have sealed the deal. Also, sliding over an ammo brick grants 20% melee energy. I already didn't spec into melee. I ignored that stat completely. It's at a minimum of 4, because 2 is the lowest you can get, and then the Radiant Light mod adds another 20 to it, so you have 4, and 4 is already moderate cooldown. So the fact that I get 20% for every ammo slide, which I'm doing anyway, I'm going to have my missiles so much more. So Syntho Missile is back on the menu. Dune Missile is back on the menu. This is going to be crazy. Top Tree Sentinel. I think this is a PvE change regarding Bubble, so I'm going to gloss over it. Revenant. Increase the Squall movement. That's the Tornado of the Ice Revenant super by 20%. So movement speed 20%. And now it stops when it touches the boss. Withering Blade. Let me comment on this first. Withering Blade is useless. I will throw them at the start of a match just to not accidentally use them. Oh man, did I skip over the best part? I did. Someone probably commented that. The reason that I throw them is because until recently, you could not separate melee actions. This has been a complaint since early Destiny 1, when you want to use the throwing knife point blank, but it decides to neutral melee. Being able to deliberately choose which melee you used, whether that's your charged or uncharged, is an absolute playmaker. So on mouse and keyboard, if you hit the super button when you don't have a super, it uses a neutral melee. And I've been using this to break stasis crystals, to give me more grenade energy, and that sort of thing. Whenever I throw a glacier grenade on a ceiling to get a raised platform, I break some of the crystals so that the enemy doesn't see the crystals when they come around the corner, and to recharge some of my abilities. If I shoot him with my gun and reload, I might be caught with my pants down, but the melee is quick and it doesn't waste ammo. So you'll be able to bind the charge melee and the uncharged melee. I already have 2 melee binds as it stands. I have one for in-air and one for sliding, so I don't lose any milliseconds there. But I might add a third. I might replace my super button with the neutral melee and then keep the charge on the other 2. I feel like the charge makes more sense in a lot of situations. It's just something I'm going to have to get used to. So Withering Blade got an increased projectile speed and tracking by 10%. I don't know if that's enough for me to not consider him useless, but we will see. Middle Tree Gunslinger. That is... which one? That's the burning one that no one uses. That's one of the worst classes in the game. They increased the burning duration from 3 to 4 seconds, which is really good, but it's still an overall weak subclass. We're going to have to see what they do in the future. I already abused the hell out of these knives, and maybe this will give you a double proc of Young Ahamkara's Spine. Let me pull up my dim here. Top Tree Gunslinger. It's called Blade Barrage. That's what I was thinking. Top Tree Gunslinger. 6-shooter. Damage fall off starts at 25 instead of 20 meters, so an extra 5 meters of range on that, so you don't have to double tap. Let's go to Young Ahamkara's Spine, where we add... increases trip mine grenade duration and blast radius. Ability damage grants grenade energy. This has a innate cooldown, but maybe with 4-second burning, you get 2 ticks instead of 1. That would be nuts, or 3 ticks instead of 2. Arcstrider. This is again a melee super buff to deal with range supers. Extended the duration from 16 to 20 seconds. Heavy slam detonation radius increased by 1 meter. PvE increase. Top Tree Arcstrider, you now have a longer duration of deadly reach by 2 seconds, so increase from 8 to 10. Middle Tree Arcstrider, this one's huge because previously you had to hit them with a neutral melee to activate Lightning Weave. Lightning Weave says that if you hit them with a melee, you get increased weapon reload, and now that timer can be extended by dealing damage with any weapon. You can activate Lightning Weave now with Tempest Strike. That's the wave melee on the floor. This one is one that puzzles me. This is Middle Tree Night Stalker, Way the Wraith. Spectral Blades. Reduce damage reduction during super from 52% to 47%. Excellent. I don't know why supers are walking tanks. Reduced additional DR while invisible from 5% to 3%. Now, hot take here. I think they should lose damage resistance because they choose to go invisible. Why wouldn't you want to go invisible? You're off the radar, you have wall hacks. So you should also get damage resistance while you're in that? That doesn't make any sense. Now we're moving on to Warlock. Shadebinder. I presume that Shatter Pulse means the explosion of ice, the right click, the right trigger on the super, the detonation. I presume that's what it means. So now you must shatter melee supers twice to kill them. Might be a good change. Top tree dawnblade. These I've waited for an eternity. Let's read. Celestial fire, reduced tracking cone angle, arming shape, now shrinks over time. Reduced detonation size by 1 meter, damage fall off increased at short distances. Excellent change. Could even use some more from what I'm reading. Icarus Dash now provides 1 air dodge every 4 seconds, while under the effects of heat rises increases to 2 dodge every 5 seconds. I like this. Heat rises, increased duration from 10 to 15 seconds. I'm a little hesitant on that, let's keep reading. Increase the time extension award for air kills while heat rises is active. The extension duration differs based on the type of enemy killed. I would rather it have the original duration, but have the new extension. Right? That's rewarding skill. Your location now appears on enemy radar when using heat rises. I think that means instead of appearing as like a piece of the pie on the radar, you're going to be an actual red dot. That is not a good change. This to me says this is casual player protection or this is bad player protection. I think casuals are good enough to understand what a floating dawnblade can do now. It's just the lesser players, the weaker players, etc. This is a bad change, I think. You can physically hear the whine of heat rises. You know when you're playing a top tree dawn what they're doing. There's a bright orange aura to them. You can see their right shoulder before they peek on a wall. So there's a lot of information telling you where they are before you see them. I'm hoping that if you're completely off the radar, like so far away, that you don't ping. But if you do, this might kill heat rises. You might have to completely spec your team into abusing this, or you might have to use Wings of Sacred Dawn and just ignore the grenade use altogether. I'm willing to do this, by the way. I'm willing to switch to Wings of Sacred Dawn, 100%. I'm not happy about that one. We'll see, though. We will see. I do like a lot of these changes. Let's keep reading. Middle Tree Dawnblade. This is a huge one right here. Players inside Well of Radiance are now immune to Stasis, Freeze, and Slow. Wall Sword can be frozen and shattered by Stasis. Increased duration from 7 to 10 seconds on the melee, and damage buff from 20 to 25%. Getting a melee off is difficult, but I presume if you run like Ophidian Aspects, this will happen more often than not. So you can pop off with some plays where you kind of like throw a healing grenade down, shotgun melee somebody, and now you're running around with an overshield and a big empowerment buff. Bottom Tree Dawnblade. They're getting the Shatter Dive treatment. They can input a direction to dive in that direction. That's kind of nuts. This might be the most used Warlock class, high key, because of that small change. Reduce delay before dive starts, so you can Phoenix dive even faster. This is gonna be nuts with that small change. The only thing is that you can't slide after Phoenix diving, and that's kind of an issue. So maybe that will also be like a ninja buff put in there. But I worry about this a lot because this was already on the cusp of being amazing. It was just Top Tree Dawn did literally everything else better. So why not just play Top Tree Dawn? But it's looking to me like a lot of us are going to be on Bottom Tree now. Because being able to get free chip damage while also getting your health back is amazing. Revenant is borderline the only competitive hunter for me at the moment because of that simple addition. So yeah, they might have overdone it here. I would rather it just go straight down, but you can slide. The input direction is probably too much. Then, this is a cool one. Solar ability kills on burning targets now cause targets to explode and burn other nearby enemies. So this is going to create a meta where now Bottom Tree Dawnblade is pretty much always on Solar Grenade to cause burning. This might interact with Sun Bracers, where the burning triggers your melee. It has a couple also possible interactions here. You might be able to stand in your Empowering Rift. While the ticks go off, you might be able to use Prometheus Lens, Thorn, Lemon Arc to proc burn, to then create an explosion. There's a lot of interactions that might make this nuts. But in all, the input direction in the dive might tip this to be the top Warlock class. Let's keep going. Middle Tree Stormcaller. They increase the beam environment collision size to match collision size with damage size, reduced beam damage radius by 20% in PvP, and endpoint spear radius in PvP by 33%. So that last dot right there is what we're talking about in PvP when you get shot through a wall. That's because invisibly there's this giant spear that explodes and it happens to tag you. So now that that's smaller, you might not get wall banged as much. Bottom Tree Stormcaller. Arc Soul increase from 12 to 13 seconds and increased rate of fire by 10%. You're going to notice this in Iron Banner whenever Iron Banner rolls around. Arc Souls are amazing. Electrostatic Surge increases sprint speed when allies are near. I love that change. It's going to feel a little inconsistent, but you're not going to say no to more sprint speed. And then Landfall now fires 5 arc ground projectiles on cast. I got outplayed by somebody using Bottom Tree Stormcaller the other day. Granted, that's because my my Wraith super short stopped 2 or 3 times, but still, they used Landfall, they didn't die, and I died because of it. If this is a guaranteed anti-super, this is going to be a great subclass for 6s. Middle Tree Voidwalker. This got some significant buffs here because Nova Warp no longer slows movement speed while charging. That right there just made Nova Warp one of the best supers in the game. Now it detonates on cast. This is going to be like Behemoth, like pre-nerf Behemoth. So now you screw somebody over when you pop your super, and now you can't get away from Nova Warp. That's what this is sounding like. It's going to be nuts. Then handheld Supernova, increase hold time from 2.5 to 3.2 seconds. That's a pretty significant change because sometimes your enemy is just trying to bait and not actually committing, and you need that extra time to double bait. And that's all the changes. So yeah, overall, I'm not happy about buffs. There are some quality of life buffs that I think should go there, but the potency buffs, I'm not a fan of. The slide nerf at a glance, I'm not liking. And while there are some quality of life buffs, I don't know if they're significant enough. And then in the case of like Bottom Tree Dawnblade, it might be too much. We'll see. Like I said at the very beginning, we were only shown a snippet, so that's all I can go off of. That's all I can critique. But I'll just reiterate one more time the reality of my gameplay day to day. Doesn't matter how long the ability is, I'm the recipient. So dealing with more potent abilities is something I do not want because it goes against what their philosophy is. It replaces the gunplay. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comment section what you like and dislike. Thanks everybody. Crossing my fingers, Bungie knocks this out of the park. I should also say that Jogaroth tweet thread, I just need to summarize here. It's something about PvP maps and adding game modes and essentially admitting that over the last 6 months to a year, that PvP was indeed on the back burner. It might not really had any devs at all. And I think they're putting a lot of the workload into the wrong things because the Destiny community never really knows what it wants. The problem with the Destiny community is that the Destiny community doesn't recognize that the average Destiny player is getting better over time. This isn't Destiny 1. The best Destiny 1 players would get eaten alive by an average Destiny 2 player right now because the average skill level has risen so much over the years. We have YouTube guides. The fact that you're playing better players on average makes everyone else step up to the plate, and it just accelerates that skill growth. And so Destiny players never realize what they actually want because they're not anticipating that skill growth. A lot of people say, let's go back to Destiny 1. Destiny 1 was superior. We want special weapons back. We want Trials of Osiris, copy paste. Well, while that worked in Destiny 1, it doesn't work in Destiny 2 because players are better, players are smarter, players know how to break the game better. So if Bungie anticipates players getting that much better, they don't exactly give the community what they want, and the community riots. So at some point, they have to appease the community by giving the thing that they think they want at the cost of maybe giving what the community actually needs. And in this map decision, I'm gonna put down my experience card and say that the Destiny community does not need just new maps or just new modes. What it actually needs is maps catered to the mode, modes catered to the map. It's that simple. You don't have to bust your ass making brand new maps that add to the problem. I'm going to give you an example here. If I queue up the control playlist and 5 out of the 7 maps are bad and they add another new bad map, that makes the net experience worse. I would rather see Endless Veil and Javelin 4 24/7 for a weekend. Endless Veil, Javelin 24/7. That would immediately make the control playlist better because those maps have good flow and control. There are some maps that have terrible flow and control. Like, I hate playing Burnout because if you get B flag, a bad teammate ruins the match, and from the inside perspective, it seems like you're playing campers the whole game. The flags could be shuffled around a little bit, and that would be a significantly better change than adding a map with the exact same problems as Burnout, or adding a mode with the exact same problems as Control. So I hope that Bungie doesn't give in to the community this time and anticipates that average skill going up and gives the community what they need. And I hope it doesn't affect sales. That's the fine line they have to walk between, is appeasing the community to get sales and then doing what is healthy for the game and the community. I hope that makes sense, friends. I hope that makes sense. That might have been hard to explain on the live commentary version. Yeah, this is live commentary, by the way. But I hope I got that message through. We can't go back to Destiny 1 because, hard pill to swallow, we all sucked at Destiny 1. So changes like these that might increase ability potency across the board at the cost of uptime, the Destiny community might be too skilled at the game for that to be the right change. But as I've repeated in this, in case somebody is skipping around the video, we're only showing a snippet, and we don't know what is realistic in the grand scheme of things in the big picture, so I can only critique what is in front of me. Thank you everybody for watching. And Joe said something about Gambit. Don't forget about Gambit. Man, I'm getting like extra ad revenue on this one unintentionally. At the very end of his map and mode discussion on PvP, he said Gambit was getting a look at, and he hit the 3 biggest pain points about Gambit. As a small aside, on March or April, I plan to release a video titled Gambit Needs Help. And it went through all the issues in Gambit. It showed my journey of throwing games to get a bottom dollar, to getting mad at my Twitch chat so I learned the game properly. And then I broke Gambit. Like, literally, it's unplayable for the enemy team, even if they're an organized team. There is no chance. Like, that's how unbalanced Gambit is. So the fact that they're looking at Gambit is amazing because there's this catch-22 with Gambit where it doesn't have a population because of the game's problems, but because it doesn't have a population, it's never been the priority to fix. So it's in this catch-22. It has the potential to be the greatest offering in Destiny. But sadly, because of that catch-22, it doesn't get the chance to shine, and I think that's criminal. But again, Bungie always has to walk that fine line of what is getting the sales and what is best for the Destiny community. I think that Gambit is the most competitive mode in Destiny at the moment. Yeah, I said it. It's the most fun mode in Destiny at the moment. Yeah, I said it. It's because all your cards are on the table. It's equal across the board. The only things I dislike in Gambit are the things that make it not equal across the board, like the heavy ammo, but of course players overcome this by just using Aeons anyway. So I'm curious to see what they do with Gambit. I really am. That is the most exciting thing about the Jogaroth tweets. The fact that the PvP team wasn't working on maps and is now starting to work on maps, that isn't new news. That's confirmed news. So yeah, I can see why the PvP community is disappointed. I'm just happy that Bungie acknowledges that PvP is important. To me, PvP is the main reason to build craft and play the game, because in PvE, everything kind of rolls over. Even in like master modes and GMs, after the first or second try, they're kind of smooth. Could just be me. But PvP is where you get the challenge. PvE is melatonin. And that can change in the future. That can absolutely change in the future. And I'm on board with hardcore PvE. It just needs to happen. So enough rambling here. Thank you everybody for watching. I will... You know what? No. One more shout out. All the teams at Bungie do a stellar job. Art team, audio team. It's just, I think at some points we get the unfortunate 2 steps forward, maybe 2.5 steps back because something doesn't get that double check. I would love to see a quality of life go across the board for PvP, Gambit, and the PvE experience rather than get new content, though I know it treads that line of what is going to promote sales and what is going to be good for the game. I hope there's a way to find that right mix. That's what I want to say. I respect the hell out of the devs at Bungie, and I don't want to sound too bitchy in this one, but I do need to keep it real and say what needs to be said. So thanks everybody for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. That was like the 4th outro. Damn. Take care.